Welcome to The Bridge. My name is Marshall Peterson, and we are so glad that you're here because it is a great day. Now, I'm sure your kids are back in school if you're a parent, and so I hope you're back into that routine of waking up early, making lunches, and if not, if it's just another day, we hope that you're cool in some way because it is hot outside. But listen, last week, we asked you to do something very specific. We asked you for the month of September to join us in being in a small group for 5 weeks. Our next series starting on September 10th is called Nothing Else Matters, and we are wanting every single adult to be in a small group. So what I want to do is I want to introduce you to our friend Cortland, who's going to tell you all about his small group experience. Check this out.
Hey guys, my name is Cortland Antoine. I've been going to the Bridge about 6-7 years now, and I just want to kind of introduce you guys to my story on how I joined a small group. From my doubts that I had, to be honest with you, I was fearful of I didn't have the time. I was fearful as well that I didn't think it was for me. I didn't know, hey, I know different groups of people, they operate different. I didn't think that was for me necessarily. And on top of that, I just felt like, what group do I go in? The Bridge helped me with that, guys. Definitely, my wife motivated me. I'm so happy that she did because of the knowledge that we know now, the friends we have, but as well as that, just the amount of times that we were able to call on these people, build that community, have Alex and Denise where they've helped us in countless times throughout our marriage and before marriage, that if even more so. But guys, I mean, everything that I thought was going to happen was the exact opposite. I can recall a time because we had Alex and Denise, one of the best small group leaders out there. They were the ones leading. So by that point, they had a game for us, a scavenger hunt. And the point of the scavenger hunt was, hey, you got to go find a spot that was going to shock the whole group. So we were pondering thoughts. It was a group scavenger hunt, and we thought, hey, we should actually go to Alex and Denise's house without them knowing, take a picture on their couch. And so with the help of their daughters, right, we were able to get into their house. We were able to sit down, take a picture. When we all got back, of course, as y'all could imagine, we won, right? Just because, of course, who would expect us to be in their home at this point in time? But that's just an amazing story. The amount of fun that we had, the friendships we built throughout that bonding time was next level. If I were to give y'all any advice, look, you're probably just like me, where you're like, hey, I don't have the time, Cortland. It just won't work for me. I don't know if it's going to be one that fits my schedule or is going to be even fitting me and my significant other, or just you if you're single. And number two is, I don't know what group I'm in. If I would encourage you guys, hey, speak with the small group leaders. Of course, there's going to be pamphlets for you guys to be able to look through, but give it a shot. I promise you, worst case scenario, you will learn so much about the word. You will really build some great friendships. And at the same time, you were able to just take some time to do that. That's worst case. Best case scenario, you get all that, and then plus you're able to invite others to small groups as well. So guys, that's my encouragement to you guys all together.
I love Cortland's story. In fact, I got to sit in small group with him and see how God worked in his life. And so I would encourage you, you can sign up for a small group today. We have online small groups to meet you wherever you are. We have small groups at our Sugar Land campus and our Cinemark campus. So if that's you, sign up today. God's gonna do big things in your life. Well, my name is Taylor Brent. I am the student director here at The Bridge, and we are continuing our series on family vibes, right? Family is hard. Family is hard, and we all have to navigate family. In fact, I believe this to be true, that we all want to be great in our families, right? I know this is true about myself when it comes to being, first and foremost, a son and a brother, right? Here's a picture of the Brent family, circa 1999. This is Dexter, Teresa, my sister, Adriana, and my brother, Keegan. I want to be a good brother, and I want to be a good son, but as you know, it's hard. And then when I started my own family, I married my beautiful wife, Taylor. And yes, if you don't know, we have the same name, Taylor and Taylor. Really, it's because I just can't remember people's names. And so one less name to remember is very easy. That's not true. The truth is she's the only one who said yes. But we are married, and we have 3 wonderful baby boys, Hudson, who is 6, Kaysen, who is 4, and Dallin, who is 2. And our life is so much fun, but in the midst of our family, I find myself wanting to be the best father, wanting to be the best husband. And as a student pastor for the past decade, watching students and families and leaders and helping them walk through and navigate this idea, this world of family. But the world we live in throws us curveballs, right? We're trying to find the right destination, and sometimes it feels like we don't have a map, we don't have a GPS, so what do we do? And that's what we're talking about in this series. And so today, I want to talk about one of the things, in my opinion, is the biggest influences on our lives as moms and dads and brothers and sisters and grandparents, and it is social media. You guys check out this video.
Hey man, I've recently been doing some contemplation about people's dependency upon cellular telephones.
Yeah, man, me too. I've really noticed that everyone always seems to be on their mobile device instead of really being in the moment.
Exactly. And I feel like this is a very significant issue that needs to be addressed immediately.
Yes, immediately.
We really should do something about this.
Here we have a man who's chosen the Instagram, his apple pie a la mode. While he fumbles through the filters, his ice cream has gotten a la hot and the pie a la cold. As you can see, this street performer's drawn a crowd to watch him do his thing. But instead of just enjoying the show, it seems everyone's decided to make a documentary. Notice this unreasonably attractive couple enjoying a reasonably priced Italian dinner together. Social networking instead of working on getting to know each other better. How does that filter taste your taste? Since your dessert has gone to waste, when do you think you ever will wanna watch this portrait juggling film? You know you want to touch each other. Doesn't that feel good?
He's my brother.
Get off the phone. It's gonna be okay. There's no need to be afraid. It doesn't love you. It's gonna die one day. The government is probably spying on you with it anyway. Here we have a stereotypical teen forced to endure family game night. He's stereotypically texting and missing his mom. Demonstrate a carousel ride. Little Ethan here is celebrated being the center of the universe for 1 year. But the world's greatest dad is more worried about Facebooking it than actually being here. Let's listen in and see if we can get some context.
Please hurry. We're at 382 Pine.
He has the nerve to make a phone call. It's such a pivotal moment in his friend's life. How could you be so disengaged while precious memories are being made? Do you really think your friends need another baby picture in their feed? Don't be such a self-centered guy. Now isn't that better?
I think he just died.
Get off the phone. It's gonna be okay. There's no need to be afraid. It doesn't love you. It's gonna die one day. It's crawling with E. coli bacteria anyway. It's gonna be okay.
Hey guys, I'm on the set of our music video. There's Rhett.
Seriously?
What?
Right, can you relate to this, right? Put down your phone. How many times have you been walking down the road and your nose is in your phone, or you've seen somebody else with their nose in their phone, right? I believe that this is one of the biggest influences on our life. It's social media. And whether you're 5 or 75 today, you live in a world that has been defined and changed by social media. In fact, Webster's dictionary says this about social media. It's a form of electronic communication, such as websites or social networking, microblogging, through which users create online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content. And when we think of social media, maybe for you, the first things that pop up on your mind are Instagram and Facebook, right? But the reality is social media has been with us for a long time. It's been with us since 1970s. In fact, one of the first social media platforms made by Randy Seuss, the computerized hobbyist bulletin board system. That's a mouthful, and I'm glad it doesn't exist today. But it came out in 1978. It was a platform for these guys in a club in Chicago to be able to communicate with each other. And we can go all the way down the list, but some of my favorite, right, 1992 is when I was born, right? AOL, maybe some of you were on American Online, right? AOL came out in 1997, Bolt and 6 Degrees. In 1998, Open Diary, the first place to have people who had to write their comments or write a story and then have other people comment on those stories. In 2002, Friendster launched. In 2003, LinkedIn launched. How many of you are on LinkedIn, right? A professional social media platform. The first social media platform I was on came out in 2003, MySpace, right? I could customize my page. I can tell you what bands I liked. I could be a part of a group. 2004, we saw the launch of Facebook, and then everything started to evolve faster and faster. In 2005, YouTube launched, and then Flickster, and Reddit, and Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Instagram. In 2011, Snapchat released. In 2015, Discord released. In 2017, TikTok went viral and launched internationally. In 2019, a platform called Be Real launched. And just this past July, in 2023, Instagram introduced Threads. Not to mention the platforms that didn't stand the test of time, right? Google Plus and Vine and Periscope, right? And some of you might not have heard of any of these, right? In fact, in the comments, I want to know what platform have you never heard of, right? Or what platforms did I miss out there that you are on today? Right? Whatever your seat is at the table, father, mother, son, brother, aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma, the social media impacts your life, right? From the moment that you wake up to the moment that we go to sleep, we are flooded with these alerts, these social media messages. In fact, in 2023, 2.8 billion, that's with a B, right? 2.8 billion people use Facebook. In 2023, 2.35 billion people use Instagram. In 2023, right now, today, 1.6 billion people are on TikTok. Social media has become the cultural rhythm in many people's daily lives. You can see it like this. It's kind of like a hidden underground river with unprecedented access to news and to gossip, to the good in the world, to the bad in the world, and yes, even the evil in the world. And so we find ourselves in the middle of this social media dilemma, right? Yeah, it can be dangerous. Yeah, there's some things that we need to talk about, but it also can be good. And this is the dilemma that we wrestle with today, and we need to wrestle with in our context. So today, I simply want to go through a few dangers of social media that I have seen. Now, I want you to understand, I am not a psychologist, right? I'm not a sociologist, right? My degree is in theology. I can tell you about the Bible. I can sometimes tell you about a Greek word. Like that's what I do. That's what I study. But in my 13 years of ministry, I've experienced talking with parents and teens and leaders about some of these questions. And then in my own life as a father, trying to figure out how to lead my 3 boys better and set them up for success. And then there's some things that I've learned just by myself as I deal with social media and what it looks like in my daily life. So before we go any further, I want to ground us in Scripture. So if you have your Bible, you can open it up to Romans chapter 12. And we're going to start in verse 1. And this is what Paul has to say to the church in Rome. It says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Now, we need to stop real fast because Paul's talking about a lot, and this one verse has a lot of rich theological meaning. But he talks about our bodies. He says, I appeal, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies. He says, I appeal, right? This is in the King James, it's I beseech you, or in another translation, I urge you. Paul is using strong language here because he really wants us to understand, like I need you to do this. I need you to do this. And he says, by the mercies of God, present your bodies. This idea of your bodies. In Hebrew, the body was represented by the whole self, right? Not just our physical being, our hands, our feet, but all of you, your mind, your thoughts, your words, all of you. He says, present yourself as a living sacrifice. This means that we sacrifice our thoughts and our minds, and not just willy-nilly, but is a deliberate action Paul is calling us to, that with our hands, with our emotions in life, with our job, everything about us that we sacrifice, we give up to God. And he says this coming off the arguments from Romans 1 to 11 of how good God has been to you, how he has been merciful to you, how he's been gracious to you, how he has been forgiving to you. And Paul says this is our spiritual act of worship, meaning this is a holistic approach to worshiping God. It's giving up of ourself. And one writer said it's the movement of man's inward being. Again, how we think, how we speak, how we live out our faith. That all of who we are is given to God. I was reading about a legend of the Knights Templar. I don't know if you know the Knights Templar. They intrigue me, right? Especially when you watch movies like National Treasure, right? Shout out to Nick Cage. The Knights Templar had this legend that when they would be baptized, before they would go out into their crusades, they would be baptized. And as they would go down, their whole body would be submerged, except their sword. Their hand would be sticking up out of the water. And it was this idea that, God, you can have all of me except for the tool I use in my daily life, where I find my identity. Like all the parts of me you can have except for that part that I don't want to let go of. The parts that's not pleasing and acceptable to you. And I think if this practice was still around today, that when it comes to social media, some of us would be holding up our hands with our phones in it and says, God, you can have all of me except my social media. You can have all of me except for my platform. You can have all of me except for you fill in the blank. And Paul is saying, no, give it all up. And how do we do this? Well, he continues in verse 2. He says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Do not be conformed to this world. This idea that you don't follow the patterns or the behaviors of this world. That Greek word there for world can be said age as well. It's this idea of the surrounding culture and environment, right? And Paul knew what he was talking about. He lives in the world of ancient Greece and Turkey and Syria and Palestine that were filled with religious cults and philosophies and teachings, these dark magics, these thoughts of higher wisdom, the arcane rituals, these passionately held ideas. This is the world which Paul lives in. He says, do not follow the patterns of this world because they lead to destruction. But it gives us a dichotomy here, but be transformed. The Greek word here is metamorpho. It's where we get our word metamorphosis. So you can transport yourself way back to 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. I don't remember when they taught that, but I know that's what it is for, right? It's this idea that a larva, right, an insect in the larva state would be transformed, what would metamorphosize, I think is the right word, into a butterfly, right? This is the idea that Paul is talking about, that we'd be transformed into something different. Not conform to the world, but be something new. How do we do this? Well, Paul says by the renewal of your mind, or the reprogramming of your mind, by what you think about. That when we give ourselves as a living sacrifice, the whole self, that our mind can be transformed. There's this law in psychology called the law of cognition. And the law of cognition says this, that your life is shaped by your thoughts. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. There's also the law of exposure, simply that you think about what you are exposed to. So your life is shaped by your thoughts, and your thoughts are shaped by what you are exposed to, right? Let's put it in equation. My mom's a math teacher, so putting in an equation is always good for me, and she likes it too, right? So the amount of time plus the type of content will equal whether you're conformed or transformed, right? The amount of time plus the type of content will equal whether you follow the behaviors of this world, you conform to this world, or you're transformed, you become something new. So what will we do? Well, Paul also gives us a filter by what we are to be transformed by. He says what is holy and what is acceptable to God. This is the standard in which we hold up all things. Paul says that when we do this, that by the testing you may discern what the will of God is, what is good and acceptable and perfect. We start to be in tune with God when we give up ourselves as a living sacrifice and transform our mind. We're in tune with God, and we start to make decisions that will impact our life for the good. So just to help us let this sink in today, I want to read this one more time from a different translation. It says this: "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all that he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behaviors and the customs of this world, but let God transform you into a person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." And this is the real dilemma we have with social media today. managing what we're exposed to and managing the content. And so when it comes to social media, there are a couple dangers that we need to think about, that we need to wrestle with when it comes to this idea of living for God. And one of the dangers that I see, number one, is the danger of addiction, right? The danger of addiction. Social media may not have been created to be addictive, but in today's world, it is addictive, right? Jeffrey A. Fowler of the Washington Post says this, that anytime we don't pay for a product, we are the product. That every social media company makes money through the users by buying and selling the information we give them. And this is important for us as families to understand. This is important for you as mom and dad to understand, for kids to recognize that social media companies are literally just that. They're companies. And those companies have an agenda. And those agendas, whether we're aware of them or not, shape our online experience and influence our values. Access.org has a parent guide on addiction, and in that parent guide, they say this about addiction, that we live in an attention economy, that marketers know that if they can get the right people's attention, they can make more money. The more time we spend on our phones, the more ads we see, and the more marketers know about us. See, she looked at a photo for 5 seconds, or he watched 83% of that video. It's the danger of addiction. One more quote here. This is from Tristan Harris. He was been said to be the conscience of Silicon Valley. He's kind of the whistleblower in the social media movement. To be aware, he says this: if you want to maximize addictiveness, all tech designers need to do is link user actions like pulling a lever with a variable reward. You pull a lever and immediately receive either an enticing reward, a match, a prize, or nothing. Addictiveness is maximized when the rate of reward is most variable. And you know this. You see this in your own life, whether it's with your kids, or maybe you're experiencing it for yourself. The danger of addictiveness. How does this work? Well, they do 4 things to try to get us addicted to our social media platforms. Number one, we just talked about it, the variable scheduled reward. It's this idea that every time you pull your social media platform down, like you're pulling a slot machine arm down in any casino, there's this chance that you're going to get a post that really connects with you, or you're going to see something that's enticing to you. And when that happens, a chemical called dopamine is released in your brain, and it makes you feel like you're walking on air, and you want that hit again and again and again. It's addictive. They use the infinite scroll feature, right? You know this, right? Literally, you cannot come to the end of Facebook. And you cannot come to the end of Instagram, right? So this idea of there's an infinite scroll, and you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, because maybe if you keep scrolling, there's going to be that one post that really entices you and, again, gives you that small hit of dopamine that makes you addicted to social media. The social media platforms do this through notification burst. Right? In fact, in the time that I'm up here speaking, that you're watching this video, maybe some of you have the itch to check your phone, right? I know I do right now, right? Because maybe, just maybe, somebody is trying to contact me on social media. Someone likes my post. And sometimes it feels like everybody's trying to get a hold of us. And then sometimes it feels like no matter how many times we check it, no one's getting a hold of us. And this is on purpose. It's done randomly to keep you addicted, so that every time you go to your phone, there's a chance of, again, getting that dopamine hit. And then social media platforms do this through social approval, right? Through likes and comments and followers, that we have this innate desire and this innate care of what people think of us. We want others to approve of us. And so social media platforms use this to keep us addicted. It's the danger of addiction. I also see the danger of finding one's identity. And this is big when it comes to students. And maybe for you today, you're dealing with this idea as well, that because social media platform is built to be addictive, right? We tend to find our meaning and our self-worth on these platforms, whether it's through a group that we are really involved with in social media, or we post our thoughts and people like our thoughts. And so that gives us, again, this release of dopamine in our brain that we loved coming back. We get this approval. Or we share pictures and we comment on pictures, and people comment on our pictures on how amazing we are. And so we post more pictures because we want more people to see how amazing we are. The pleasure centers of our brain are activated, and we chase after that feeling again and again until that's all we do. It's the danger of finding our identity and our self-worth in social media. One writer says this, that in fact, Generation Z, which is the generation born after 1997, care less about being invited to parties or having a lot of friends at school and much more about their number of followers and their Snap score and how many positive comments they have. It's the danger of identity. And I think this affects all of us, right? In fact, I remember sitting in the living room with Taylor's mom. And I love Taylor's mom. Her name is Sherry. She's one of the funniest people I know. And a lot of times she'll post something funny on Facebook. That's her platform of choice. And I remember sitting and having a conversation with her where she posted a funny comment to social media, and 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes goes by, and she looks at her phone and she's checking her post to see how well it went and how well it did. And nobody had commented on it. No one had liked it. And she makes the comment, oh, I guess people just don't understand my humor. I guess people don't understand my humor. And I think on the surface, we can look at that comment and go, that's not a big deal. But I think there's something to that if we dig a little deeper. I think this danger of identity affects all of us. There's also the danger of fake relationships. This is something I see regularly, the danger of relationships. That social media can give us a false view of relationships, right? The desire for relationship is very real, right? That we want to connect with others. But at the same time, the desire for relationship is a challenge. Why? Because relationship is hard. A relationship requires a give and take, a push and pull. And yet, the danger of social media is what experts call the online disinhibition effect. This is when people can behave differently online than they would in the real world. And this leads to all kinds of dangers like catfishing, where people pretend to be somebody else. And this can lead to greater numbers of self-harm because people are upset. They're depressed because they have been tricked or they've been faked into thinking they're in a relationship with somebody who they're not. This can lead to relationships outside of marriage. In fact, studies show that people fall in love faster and fall into adultery faster, 3 times faster on social media than they do in real life. People begin to say things and open up more than they would in real life. It's the danger of fake relationships. This could lead to things like bullying. People say things more harshly. They say things that are meaner than they ever would in real life because of the protection of social media. So this can lead to people being bullied and also people bullying online. There's also the danger of isolation. That because of the addictive nature of social media, it's easier to slip into a cocoon of isolation where sometimes hours have passed, right? And this is one of my things that I deal with all the time. Like there's so many times that I get on TikTok and I'm scrolling and next thing I know, it's 1 a.m. in the morning and I need to go to bed because I got to work in the morning, right? This is danger of isolation. In fact, we see this with families as well, right? Families are spending time with each other because they're in close proximity, yet they are all isolated on their phones on different platforms. That we spend time together in the same room, yet our attention is divided. You see this with couples, right? Where couples are in the same bed, yet they're facing opposite ways. And the only communication that they have is sending TikToks or memes or posts to each other to laugh at, right? It's the danger of isolation. Also see the danger of comparison. That what you see, what you read online is 100% true. And so we start to compare ourselves to what we see on these platforms. In fact, an article written by the American Psychological Association says this, that for the viewer, issues start to set in when they view attractive images of others on social media. These individuals are more likely to become dissatisfied with their own body image and experience a range of negative emotions, behaviors, including self-criticism, sadness, dysfunctional attitudes, low self-esteem, depression, and addiction. We start to compare ourselves to others, even though what we see on social media a lot of times is not 100% true, and it leads to all these things, depression, anxiety, right? It's the danger of comparison. In fact, one psychologist calls this behavior the social comparison theory. And that theory is this, that the social comparison theory contends that when people encounter others who they perceive to be better than them on a relevant, important dimension, it threatens their sense of self-worth on that dimension and often produces, again, anxiety, frustration, and other negative feelings. And then on the flip side of this coin, content creators push themselves to post the perfect image, that they internally want to be perfect. And it actually portrays an inaccurate portrayal of their daily life. Again, this danger of comparison. Comparison also can give us the false idea of the family, right? Of our family unit. And so I've seen this time and time again because I've been consumed by it, where I look at photos and images and posts of the parent down the road or the dad down the road, and I beat myself up because I'm not as good as that dad, or I'm not as good as that mom, or I'm not as good as that family. The opposite, I think, can be true as well, that we sometimes post things, whether it's pictures or posts or comments, and we do it to elicit a certain response. We do it to get a rise out of people or stir out of people. And whether that stir is good, bad, or ugly, we become complicit in sharing these false realities, these false truths about our family, about our lives. And other people then start to compare with us. It's the danger of comparison. And then lastly, one of the biggest things I see is the danger of lust. It's the danger of lust, that never has there been a time in history when we can see an unlimited amount of unrealistic standards when it comes to the human body, when it comes to sex. In fact, it's a scary thing, but we have to acknowledge it today, that kids today can literally get on the internet, can get on a social media platform and instantly see 1,000 pictures of different men and women in a matter of seconds, all through social media platforms. The stats are real, right? That the largest watchers of pornography in America are 12 to 17-year-old boys. That 90% of children 19 to 16 have viewed porn connected through their social media platforms. That 30% of adults believe that pornographic images and videos are morally acceptable. That according to Barna research, the 68% of church-going men and more than 50% of pastors regularly view porn. And the danger with social media platforms is that at any moment, at any time, from any social media platform, we are 2 to 3 clicks away from explicit content. So what do we do? Because that's a lot. And if you're a parent like I am, sometimes you can feel overwhelmed. Sometimes you can feel like you're drowning in the sea of social media and all of the dangers that it presents itself with. There is good news. When it comes to social media, I believe that we can redeem social media. I believe that we can use social media for good. In fact, this is what we at The Bridge try to do on a daily basis, right? The Bridge is online. We're on Facebook. In fact, some of you are watching right now on Facebook. And we are on Instagram, that we post pictures and images and stories because we believe that we can redeem social media and we can use social media for good. And I'm telling you, yes, there are some real dangers. And there are some real discussions that you need to have, that we need to have. But there are some cool things that come out of social media as well. In fact, one of my favorite stories comes from a speaker that I follow. His name is Carlos Whitaker, and he is on Instagram, and he has what he calls the Insta Familia, the Instagram family. And check out what he actually can do through social media. This story is really cool. Watch this.
Finally tonight, America Strong, a chance encounter and the life-changing gift from total strangers.
Tony Valentine Carter has been playing the piano for 6 decades. His stage for the last 7 years, a corner of Concourse A at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta.
People love having live music. They've had a weary travel day, and they're not expecting this. And it just changes everything. I love this job.
On Thursday, Tony's playing caught the attention of Carlos Whitaker, an Instagram influencer with more than 200,000 followers. Tony telling Carlos about his long battle with kidney disease.
The second he told me that he's on dialysis 9 hours a night, wakes up every morning and goes and plays the piano for tips for 4 hours, I go, this brother's about to get a big tip.
Carlos so captivated by Tony's story, he wanted to make a difference and asked his followers to help.
Let's go. That's it right there.
Let's see how much we can raise in 45 minutes for this saint of a human. During a break, Carlos delivers the amazing news.
So I put my Venmo out there, and in 35 minutes, I need to let you know that I'm about to give you $10,000. They just deposited $10,000. 170,000 strangers that loved your piano playing, and I asked them to give you money.
Oh, man.
You deserve this, bro. Your wife deserves this. I don't even know you, but I love you.
Days later, that tip would grow to more than $70,000. The kindness of strangers changing one piano man's life forever.
You don't have to say nothing. I love you. I got to catch my flight. Take care of that wife. You right here. Come on. Come on. Come on.
How cool is that? All right, social media has great potential to do really, really good things in our world. And if we reprogram our thinking and offer our social media up to God as a living sacrifice, imagine the things that he can do. In fact, check out what Jesus says in Matthew 5:14, that you are the light of the world, a town built on a hill that cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand that gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they might see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. When it comes to social media, we can shine the light of Jesus on every platform. And we can use social media for great good. We can use social media to show the world that it's not where we find our identity. It's not where we find our value. It's not where our desire of relationship is found, but it's found in the light of the world that is Jesus. So before we go, I want to give us just some real practical tips, some things that I have seen work wonders in families' lives before, some things that I am doing to help me with this idea of reprogramming my mind and offering up my social media as a living sacrifice to God. The first thing that you can do is set the example. Parents, families, grandparents, set the example that you can have conversations today, right now, with your family. Because again, this is not a teen issue. This is not a Generation Alpha and Z issue. This is a human issue, right? Again, it's the reason I had a conversation with my 6-year-old the other day of why he couldn't watch YouTube while everybody else in first grade could. It's the same conversation I had with a 50-year-old man the other day about the content that he came across while he was sitting on Instagram. You can start to have some of these conversations that in turn you might reprogram and renew your mind. Hey, Dad, can any part of your family, any member of your family at any time grab your phone and look at it? Right? Are you setting the example about what is on your phone? Hey, Mom, what do you do when you come home from work? What is the first thing you go to? Is it jumping on your couch and pulling up your TikTok and trying to detox from the world? You're setting an example for your student. You're setting an example for your kids. In awkward situations, when boredom sets in, what is your go-to? Is it to open up Facebook and see what the latest thing is? You're setting the example. Have the conversation today. Hey, parents and grandparents, do you only post about the times your kids are doing good? Do you only post when your kids look nice? Do you only post when your kids have said something and they're behaving the way you want them to behave? Because again, you are setting the example. In fact, there's a book called Behind the Closed Doors that we're going to actually recommend for you. And in the book, the author talks about these examples that are being set by parents, that when we post only about when our kids do good, say good, are good, that it teaches our kids that is where they find their values, that they can only be worth anything if they look nice, if they say something nice, if they look nice. Parents, you set the example, and your kids are watching, and you are showing them what you value most by what you post. You can also stay connected to what's going on, right? You can set the example by staying connected, right? If you haven't already, I would encourage you to head over to Netflix, right? This is your homework for the day. Head over to Netflix and turn on to the Social Media Dilemma. This is going to give you a good overview of everything that we talked about today and go in more depth about the real dangers of social media and what you can do. I would encourage you to head over to thebridge.me/family resources. There we have a ton of resources that you can use and you can walk through with your family to have conversations that can equip you to be better informed about the dangers of social media. We set the example in our families. We have to set the example in our world. And the second real practical thing that you can do is set guardrails. You can set guardrails up in your life. Parents, hear me. You can set guardrails up to protect your family. If you think about this, right, check out this picture. This is a guardrail. If you look at where it's placed, it's not placed in the road, but it's not placed in the ditch. It's placed in the safety zone. That as we go through life, if we veer off the road, left or right, we're going to hit that guardrail. But that guardrail is going to protect us from going into the ditch or going over the cliff. And for our families, we can set guardrails up in our life because the reality is we're going to mess up. And sometimes we're going to veer off the road and we might hit that guardrail, but we're still going to be safe. So set up some guardrails. Number one, you can set up a monitoring software on every device that you have. Right? There's a link in the comments right now. This is a parent's guide to computer monitoring and monitoring software. And you can read this guide, and it's going to give you some real basic tips of what software you can use to track what your kids are watching, what you are seeing, spouses that you can start to have conversation, hold each other accountable about what's coming across your screen, especially when it comes to social media. You can set up those guardrails to keep you safe. You can set up the guardrail of a device-safe zone or the device-free zone. Right? In my family, this is their dinner table. That when it comes to dinner time, we sit together at the table and there's no device. The TV's not on, our phone is not on the table. It's actually plugged in on the counter in the kitchen. Right? Because we want to facilitate conversation, set up times in our life where we're not addicted, we're not connected to our social media platforms. For me, a device-free zone is my bed. That I found myself when it was time to go to sleep on my phone again for hours, scrolling on TikTok, right? Sending the latest funny meme to Marshall and to Kurt because I feel like they need to laugh more in their life, right? And later on, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours had gone by. So for me, I made the decision years ago that my bed is a device-free zone. And so when it comes to guardrails, when it comes to boundaries, we need to make sure that they're set up so that our families, and so that we are safe. The truth is, every platform can be good, but every platform can also have great potential for great evil. So we need guardrails in our life. This is the social media dilemma, and it's very real. It's very real. And it's here to stay. Social media is not going anywhere. In fact, I think it's going to become a bigger part of our life as we continue to walk and to continue to go on. And so if you're overwhelmed right now, if you feel like there's so many things that you need to consider and take in, I'm going to leave you with this passage. This is Paul again. He's talking to the church in Philippi, and he's encouraging the church in Philippi to continue to, in their world, in their age, and in the world that doesn't think like them, that doesn't walk like them. Paul is encouraging the church to do this, and he says this in verse 8 of chapter 4. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, and what is honorable, what is right and pure, what is lovely, what is admirable. Think about these things. Think about things that are excellent and praiseworthy. Keep putting into practice all you've learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing. Then God of peace will be with you. You want to win as a mom and dad? You want to win as a son or a daughter? You want to win as a grandparent? You want to win as an uncle or an aunt? You want to win in the fight against social media? It's all about putting social media in its proper place, offering up our lives, our whole life, as a living sacrifice up to God. Not conforming to this world, but reprogramming our thoughts, being transformed by what we think, by thinking on what is good and what is excellence, by thinking about the things of God. And He will be with you, and you will be better because of it. I hope that this has encouraged you. I hope that you can take this and have real conversation. And I hope this helps you be the best family that you can be. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Your hand in every part of my whole life from the start.